Kevin. Thank you all. I came that they may have life abundant. John 10:10. Who is this I that came? Come on, you guys know.
I am present. God self.
Jesus! Thank you. I came that they, who is they? Us. Yeah, well, way back then, when he said it, it might have been the Jewish people at his time, right? And then word spread to the Gentiles. Because if anything, he was inclusive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, 2,000 years later, this message of life is still being lived by us. Abundant. I came that they may have life abundant. Do you know what that means? Abundant? Are you having life abundant? Now, I ask myself these questions. I see some nods. Yes, yes. I ask myself these questions when I'm preparing this talk. What does this mean? And am I having a life abundant? And when you ask that to yourself, you might, like I, have to go look up abundant. I thought it meant good. You know, when you hear that, I came that they may have life abundant, you think good, right? But abundant doesn't mean good. Webster says plenty. Abundant means plenty. It's not limited to good. Plenty of whatever. Because this month we celebrate this new life in us, I thought it might be a good time to explore what Jesus said about why he came. Could it be that he was saying he came to bless everything, the good and the seeming bad in our lives? That we are to find God in everything? Not only the good, but sometimes the seeming bad that life serves up. I came. We celebrate the birth of Jesus of Nazareth and what it symbolizes. The birth of the Christ consciousness in each one of us. And the life is that power under Charles Fillmore, our co-founder's scheme of the 12 powers, which predate the founding of Unity, but Charles seized on this idea and actually gave it a location in the body. Life is located in the generative organs. It has a color, red. And it is that spiritual potential in each one of us, that faculty of vitality. You are vital to the unfolding of the universe, and especially vital to this church of practical Christianity of Baton Rouge. That's one of the wonderful things about a smaller church, is that you know each person is vital. You know you're missed. As when Catherine goes away for a few months, a year, we hold her seat for her. You know that you are a vital person in this church and in this universe, as Eckhart Tolle says. Essential to the unfolding of the universe. And another aspect of the life spiritual power existent in each human being is presence. And I heard from a hospital chaplain one Sunday that Jesus's most apparent quality of the person that he was he was present. To anyone he encountered, he was fully present. And he told us that we should practice the presence of that indwelling kingdom of heaven, which Jerry so beautifully sings about, which Jesus called our Father. So Emily Cady, a famous unity writer you probably all have heard of, I wanted to share with you what she says about life, and a Christian and a Christ life. There is a great difference between a Christian life and a Christ life. To live a Christian life is to follow the teachings of Jesus with the thought that God and Christ are wholly outside us. To be called on, but not always to answer. To live a Christ life is to follow Jesus' teachings in the knowledge that God's indwelling presence, which is always life, love, and power within us, is now ready and waiting to flow forth abundantly, lavishly into our consciousness and through us to others, the moment we open ourselves to it and trustfully expect it. One is a following after Christ, which is beautiful and good so far as it goes, but it is always imperfect. The other is a letting Christ, the perfect Son of God, be manifested through us. One is an expecting to be saved sometime from sin, sickness, and trouble. The other is knowing that we are in reality saved now from all these errors by the indwelling Christ, and by faith affirming it until the evidence is manifested in our bodies. We practice the teaching of Jesus in this church of practical Christianity. Co-founder Charles Fillmore, in writing on the 12 powers or spiritual potentials in humans, identifies the apostle Judas with life. When I first read this, I thought, this shouldn't be. After all, Judas is commonly known as the one who betrayed Jesus and took his own life, as well as having an instrumental part in taking Jesus' life. He seems to stand more for death than life. Of course, we know from The Lion King that it is a cycle, huh? But how can Judas be chosen as the one to represent life? Well, Judas was known as the betrayer. I have sometimes felt betrayed by life. Have you ever? And remember, in unity, all the characters of the Bible represent aspects of ourselves. Have you ever felt you betrayed yourself, your values? Metaphysically, Judas represents desire, which is good. The onward impulse of the ever-evolving human, springing from deep within. It has enduring power. Deep desire is essential to spiritual growth. But Judas also represents the human capacity for covetousness, overstepping the law and seeking that which belongs to another is that aspect of our Judas, that aspect of covetousness. Jesus taught that we are spiritual beings capable of turning away from the material to the spiritual, and to trust that life will be abundant when we do this. Believe in your own goodness, and it is God's desire to pour you out all the blessings of heaven, more than you can contain, so that your cup runneth over to the good of others. So this month we celebrate the nurturing of our indwelling Christ consciousness, where we connect with and do our best to express the image and likeness of God the good, the only true power in the universe. Through prayer, meditation, good works, a smile, helping a friend, thinking of a blessing for one who seems to be an enemy, the enemy of the moment, maybe someone who seems to be standing between us and our good. You know what's a good prayer to say for a seeming enemy? That they receive everything that you want. Because when you get right down to it, all any of us really want is happiness, peace, prosperity. And if your seeming enemy becomes happy, peaceful, and prosperous, they will be more of a blessing in the lives of everyone they encounter, including you. What goes around comes around, as they say. So, this idea of the abundant life that Jesus came to reveal. Are you having plenty of life on this earthly realm? My mom, God bless her soul, taught me I should have little of the plenty that life has to offer, for fear that it would just be too much to handle. She didn't want her daughters to achieve our own success so much as to marry a man that was successful. She believed in staying indoors and then in bed for the last years of her life, for fear of what life might demand of her if she went out. One way to be sure you don't have an abundant life is to stay under the covers, folks. I think Jesus realized that as long as we lived in this material world, we would experience plenty of the good and so-called bad that life has to offer. And he wanted to guide us to the indwelling Spirit, to which we can turn for direction in whatever we are experiencing. This guidance can come during a prayer and meditation, or while we're talking to a friend, listening to a dance, listening to a song, dancing to a carol. I'm not sure how we do that, but Elizabeth is going to show us at 1 o'clock today, so please do stay for carol dancing. It's apparently an ancient form of dance, so we'll learn more about it. I know we experienced an abundance of what life as Mother Nature has to offer in mid-August. What is the saying? When it rains, it pours. Abundant pouring rain in August seemed the Judas of Baton Rouge. I cannot express Unity teachings about such events nearly as well as our own homegrown angel, Miss Kelly, who has taught our children's church for the past 32 years. I read this, what I'm about to read, last week, but allow me to read it again, as her words inspired me as much as any of the writers to whom I have referred, because I know a little bit about the plenty of the experience that caused her to write these words. Dear church family, We are blessed in our ministry with you, our family of 32 years. In our time of receiving, you are giving. We accept your generosity gratefully. Thank you always. Now, this is the part I want you to hear. This is just another blessing resulting from the flood. Being on the receiving end of the flood of prosperity from God through many sources such as you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Ed Walker and Caitlin O'Kelly Walker. I wish I'd had Miss Kelly as my Sunday school teacher. Remember when you were a kid? Did you think like me, I can't wait to grow up when it will all be good because no one's telling me what to do? I grew up and found it's not all good. Then I got to Unity and learned what the I am in me is asked to do to make it good. Can I always do this? Nope. And you know Miss Kelly didn't reach this gratitude overnight. She went through some heartache because she lost so much. Her home, her car, even her means of communication with her children and her church. But hey, she didn't lose Ed. And if you got Ed, my guess is you have life abundant. So if you and I are seeking the Christ life, and I believe we are, an abundant life is not based on experiencing only awesomely good behavior from people, only great places and events. Such is not the world we're given. But as co-creators of our lives, we have the power to change our world by focusing our attention on the good in people, places, and events of our lives. That's Unity's third principle, thoughts held in mind, produce after their kind. I am reminded of Sister Helen Prejean from Baton Rouge, not a saint or even known outside Louisiana before the movie Dead Man Walking. But she worked with those on death row who had committed the most violent acts to find the good in them and help them express it. Who does that? I know Sister Helen took it to heart that Jesus taught, whatever you did not do for one of the least of men, you did not do for me. Living our lives from Christ consciousness does not happen overnight by any means. And once we get a glimpse of what it takes to experience all of this abundant life as good, we don't stay in that perspective all the time, do we? I don't, I know that. But we are always at choice to find the best in us and in our lives through the indwelling, co-creative goodness in which we live and move and have our being, and which lives and moves and has being in us. That is what the birth of Christ means to us. It is the good in me beholding the good in you. Namaste.
Namaste.
And now we sing again.